I'm Shawn White, Mrs. Claus Vintage. Been doing this for about 10 years. And I've been in musical theater for many years. I just finished up Mamma Mia few weeks ago. So it never ends with me. I'm happy to be here and I love doing these shows. I've been doing this for about a year, different shows on Worldwide Santa Claus Network. And on Thursday nights, I've been promoting the Claus Connect myself for my own show. So tonight I have some wonderful guests with me, and I will introduce Mike, who is the producer tonight and helping me out, Phineas the Elf.
Good
He's
evening,
wonderful.
everybody.
Dr. Bruce and Betsy, the Spirited Fairy. We are all part of a group that is called the Claus Consortium. And tonight we're going to have, we're just going to get in it here. Real quick. Hi, Brenda. Did we say hello to everybody? Craig, thank you for being here, you guys. We appreciate you very much. Carl, cousin Carl's here. And James and Santa Mark, hello. So hopefully you got everybody. Okay, Bruce, would you explain what we're all about here?
Well, the Claus Consortium group kind of came together loosely back in August. Sean, Mike, and myself were asked to be part of the Red Suit Conclave for the Michigan Association of Professional Santas, MAPS. And the three of us were presenting separate workshops and different things. And then we all suddenly realized, oh, we're all going to be in Saginaw at the same time. So Mike and I were asked to do some collaborative work for a Sunday morning prayer service. And then I just got this idea about, like, they wanted me to talk about performance skills, and about stage presence. And in my adult life, I'm the director of the School of Creative Arts for the University of Windsor. When I'm not an administrator, which I try to duck out of quite often, I'm a conductor and singer. So, like this past weekend, we had a performance at Cremina Burana. I had 210 choristers on stage, and full instruments. It was incredible. But so how we got started was that Sean, Mike, and myself, came together for this stage presence class, and we taught the class as Mrs. Vintage Claus, Phineas the Elf, and Santa Bruce Guerin. And we just suddenly realized that there was something here. And we were talking about just like common things about why we do what we do and how we do. And then Sean said, I've got a friend that is needs to be part of this. So this is how Betsy became part of it. So basically what we look at and what we're researching and putting into practice is the idea we're looking at the tradition of how we celebrate. And it's not necessarily just Christmas how we celebrate. We're looking at just why we celebrate. And we're focusing in on Western traditions here. So right now, our focus is the entire Christmas celebration that starts from harvest, goes all the way through into February. So we look at the tradition. We research the tradition so that we can then apply it through workshop, through gatherings like this. So it comes back into performance and represents what our traditions are, how it's affected by contemporary social trends taking place, so that we present the best of who we can be at the time. And we're constantly growing, and we're suddenly realizing that besides our four backgrounds, that we're talking about a friend of ours that's a behaviorist, who runs a coaching company, a motivational speaker. Just there's so many intersections and I'm going to let Betsy, Mike, and Sean also jump in here, because the consortium group is starting to grow faster than what we thought it would.
So one of the things that you were really trying to do when we got on stage was to kind of prove a point too, that
Yes.
our stage presence, we would all be sharing in on that. Not one person would be more than that. And we
Right.
were able to prove it by our improv and developing our characters right before each other's eyes. Correct? Right?
Correct. And then this past January, February, when we're at North Pole Cornerstones, that's when Betsy was able to join us. So it was a Saturday morning in February up at the North Pole, and the Tooth Fairy was coming over to have tea and to bring toothbrushes for us.
Betsy, would you tell us the
Yes.
story about, well, she had just side note, she had just met Bruce the day before for the first time.
Yes. It
And
had not been 24 hours, I
right.
don't think. So,
I had only
wow.
worked with these guys for just one little thing we did in August. So none of us really had ever worked together, really. So go ahead.
No,
Sorry.
and that kind of replicated many of the experiences that I have when I portray Mrs. Claus, because often I walk into a scenario, I'm working with different Santas, and I immediately have to be on. I have to connect with them. I often don't have a lot of time to prep for that. And something that Sean has said in the past, talking about character and character development, your character stays the same, whether you're working with Santa or whether you're working alone. And so, if you know your character, you can make those connections with the other people on stage. And Bruce is being inspiring with taking all of us and sharing that space. It really kind of, I think, started something for us in terms of there's a whole audience that wants to equally hear from the Tooth Fairy, from Mrs. Claus. They love Santa, but they want to know the stories from those other characters on stage. And so the give and take between Phineas, he brought on his wonderful puppet that we all connect with, and just in the moment improvisation and the magic that happened there. Oh, thank you, smart people. I don't know who that is on the chat, but thank you.
Can
The
you
Tooth
also
Fairy.
talk to us about how you had been looking for the Tooth Fairy character? I think this is really
Yes.
inspiring.
If we can go backwards a little bit, to when I became the Tooth, I've been Mrs. Claus. This is my going into my third season, so fairly new Mrs. Claus compared to all of you. But I became Mrs. Claus, and then the preschool that is attached to the church I work at asked me, they said, the dentist is really boring that we bring in every year. So we need to jazz it up a little bit. And you're the person for that. Can you be a tooth fairy? So my vision of the tooth fairy is what I wear, a big quinceanera dress. And I came into this space and I was the tooth fairy. But then I didn't feel like I really knew her until I entered this space with Bruce and Mike and Sean, where I improvised alongside them. And then from there, I really started researching. And that was about a year after I put on the dress. So, what we developed in that improvised environment was magic for me in that it gave me some of the answers based on relationship. Like Sean and I believe Mrs. Claus and the Tooth Fairy are best friends. I have a relationship as the best friend of her, but Santa, and the relationship with Phineas. So all of those things came together at that time, just through the improvised work. And so what I wanted to say really quick is when I went to some Santa schools, a lot of times they had us write our backstory on paper. And for me, the way that I learn is doing and moving through it. And so it was very helpful to have fellow performers and actors there with me doing that process, as opposed to taking it off the page and putting it on the stage. I work the opposite. I go from stage to page, and now I can write it out.
Thank you, Betsy. Mike, we talked about this today, taking your character from one dimension to three dimension.
Yes.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So basically, to be a three-dimensional character, it takes it from being like a bunch of stuff on a sheet of paper to how you enact that in face to face with other individuals. It is taking a list of your background and history and applying that as your persona, as yourself. So how do you take a certain aspect of your history and apply it as a quirk, a personality trait, how you interact with everybody as that character? So what it is taking the stuff that you created as your backstory and letting it direct, I won't say dictate, I'll say direct how you act with others face to face as that character, not as yourself. So everybody asks what the difference between Phineas and Mike is that Phineas is everything that Mike hates about himself, ramped up times 100. So it's sort of a way of creating a filter with how I portray Phineas as a character. So
And Mike, what did you get from that experience in Texas with the three of us? What?
I got the fact that, especially as I was operating a puppet at the exact same time, so I was essentially two characters at once.
Mhm.
So I was focused more and less because I've been acting as Phineas with various other performers now for 10 years now. So I then began focusing on how is Phineas interacting with this puppet? How would this puppet react to things that other characters were saying and stuff like that? So using it was a Baby Yeti puppet, the Folk Manus Baby Yeti puppet that many of you have. I was working on getting that puppet to respond and react as a baby Yeti would to strange stimuluses like Santa Claus has a big booming voice and he raised his voice a couple of times. So how would a baby react to a large character booming his voice? How would a baby react to being in a room full of human beings that it's never met before? So that is what it is. It's getting out of yourself and getting into the character and trying to figure out how the character would relate to others.
So I think myself as Mrs. Claus Vintage, I think for me the magic began when we were in the out waiting to go on stage. There was a door shut, and I'm a theater girl. I love nothing more than being between those curtains, getting ready to step on that stage. And we were all feeling it. It felt like, and just the energy with the four of us, we were ready. We were ready to show
Yeah.
what we could do and interact with each other. Not even really ever doing this is why it was so insane. But once we got on there, it basically the audience was gone. It was just us interacting like we were at the North Pole and we were being our characters. And it was so magical, no matter what else happened. And we had no idea we were even doing, why we were doing things, kind of. But that was for me, it was very cool and magical. So
I think one thing that we should add here was that even though it is improv, it just wasn't flying by the seat of our pants in improv. We did spend the evening before just we weren't practicing, but we were talking through what is the scenario, what's going on that Saturday morning, why is the tooth fairy coming, why does Santa become worried on a February morning up at the North Pole? Different things like this. So we were able to talk through the scenario so that we understood what was going on in the household. And what it was just a look at what's going on at the Claus's house that day. And because we had an idea of what the routine was on a Saturday morning, and then having a good friend coming over, we were able to freely move and interact with each other as our characters. And I think that's what the real freeing experience was. And I think that's what the conference guests experienced as the magic that was taking place.
And
Because
I
they were.
think, yeah, oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that that is the magic. And I also think just children are very curious about the normal behind the scenes. What you talked about, it was a normal day at the North Pole. And a lot of the questions that I think a lot of us get, life at the North Pole, what does this? And so dealing with it more, making it not as much about us and what we want to show off, more about the simplicity of what children are curious about, and trying to create that magic of the relationship between us and then the normalcy of the North Pole.
And
And the
part of the
beauty of
magic,
improv is trusting,
yeah,
trusting the other
definitely.
people there. And I do trust them, that I knew no matter what happened, I could go in there and there was no messing up. It was just yes and, like we do in improv. Go ahead, Sean.
A part of the magic too was not just being on stage, but it was the night before when we sat there and each used our creative minds, part of our brains, and went back to, like we've said in classes, our 5-year-old self, and we were able to look at this whole thing through a child's eyes. And that's why we came up with these stories, I think, was a lot of the magic, because once you push those buttons and it starts happening, it happens for all the stuff that you're doing. And the reason we're even talking about this is what helps you with your stories when you're talking with the children, with your props, what kind of props, why, the puppets, everything. So this is tapping into all of that.
I think for me, when I started as a performer, I had a lot of, and some of you work with magic tricks and that really works with your story. For me, I felt like I needed a little bit more authenticity. Do I see Sal on here? I think I do.
Yes, that's right.
Um, and one of the things that Sal helped me find were, for the Tooth Fairy, these gold coins that I bought. And they're very, very authentic in terms of what the Tooth Fairy would really hold. And so kind of my word for the year, as opposed to being bigger, is really to simplify and get that authenticity with children.
Yeah.
And I think what was evident from what we were ending up doing is that we were treating it as just, this is a Saturday morning at the North Pole. Phineas was bringing Santa the latest update on the list, even though it was February and it's pretty darned early to do it in February. We were sitting down, we were getting ready to have tea. Phineas had just come in from the barn and went and picked up this baby Yeti because the baby Yeti's teething, which is why the Tooth Fairy was coming up, because we needed to have a check on the teeth of the baby Yeti. And then as we were sitting and talking, we broke down the fourth wall and began including the audience with us until we completely opened it up and said, okay, you've all seen Saturday morning at the North Pole. What would you like to talk about? And we invited the rest of the audience in, because we were having tea with the Tooth Fairy. We invited the rest of the audience in to have tea with us, and to spill the tea, so to speak. And so we showed at that point how we can bring people into our world to join us, so they're not observers, that they are actually participants in with us, and that they were welcomed and equally a part of what was happening in front of them, and we wanted them to engage with us.
And they were really quiet and absorbed into what we were doing. I remember that. It was a very quiet room.
Hmm.
Totally. So the most fun thing we did after that would be we went out and we left the room. It was all, the classes were full, and we were in costume. We were exhausted. We went out to, at the North Pole Cornerstones, they have a lounge area, and you can get coffee at a little Starbucks thing, and there's tables to sit at. So we all decided we needed caffeine to be able to survive the rest of the day. So we sat down in costume at this round table, and people were walking by and seeing the four of us just casually having coffee, that we flew in from the North Pole, and meeting the Tooth Fairy. And then I got the idea. We went live on TikTok, and we had well over 2,000 people asking us questions and watching us, and it was a blast. So that's how we ended our little foray that we had. And that was a fun experience. So.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm gonna switch over a little bit here and mix it up, and I'm gonna ask the three of you. I want you to give me one or a couple words that describe how you're feeling about the upcoming season, starting with Mike.
Oh, put me on the spot.
We're at the end of
Um,
the pictures here, so.
um, I'm feeling excited because I've been able to meet with some incredibly creative people who kick my butt and make me want to improve my skills, up my skills. I've been networking. Many of you see me on Monday afternoons on the Tuesday Night Live network with Bob. I see Bob is here. Hi, Bob. Um, and it's always it's been interesting because I typically would just work around Christmas time. We do a hit with Phineas around Easter. You may see Phineas as an Easter bunny this upcoming Monday. You don't know. Um, and then we do a Christmas in July kind of thing. So um, I've been forced now to think about this year round, and it's been very exciting and empowering for me because it's allowed me to apply my stuff and think outside the box and figure out what Phineas is doing year round and how he's supporting Santa and Mrs. Claus year round at this point. So
Bruce.
Actually, I'm ecstatic about the upcoming season, and I know it's only April. It's not even Easter yet. We're just in exams. We haven't even ended the academic year, and I'm already thinking about November, December with live appearances, and then already, the studios for September and October. Um, they're just, I think, the interaction of the four of us, and Mike, you just mentioned it, that it's this idea of community, that it's not just us being one-offs. There, it takes it takes our interaction. Um, how the four of us realize that we just naturally work, and we do come from similar backgrounds, yet we're very diverse in who we are and what we do, but there are commonalities here, and the intention of the creativity, how we do challenge each other, that how do we as our characters interrelate, what's the relational experience of what's taking place, makes me a stronger character, that I know that Santa's going out and visiting and greeting people, and people ask, well, where's Mrs. Claus? How's Mrs. Claus? What's going on at the North Pole? Like, who is your head elf? Like, do you know um, the other entities, the other characters throughout the year? And it's like, I do actually, and yeah, and Mrs. Claus and Phineas are back at the North Pole. Tomorrow morning, when you're having pancakes at home, the tooth fairy is going to be popping in, and so all of that really just excites the imagination. Now, if the four of us could always be working together, that would be marvelous. But we've got Southern Michigan, we've got South Central Ontario, we got Dallas Metroplex. I'm across the straits from Detroit, so that doesn't happen. But even when we just meet and we're talking in the consortium and just different ideas of research, it causes that interrelational thing happening, and that creativity, which I realize, like my doctorate in music is in performance, not a PhD in musicology. So, like Betsy, I need to have that kinesthetic experience. So I'm ecstatic, and we all go through that dry period. I've come out of the desert, and I'm just in a tropical forest now, and I'm just loving it. I'm looking forward to it.
Nice. Nice. Thank you, Bruce. Betsy.
I would say my word for the season would be I'm feeling very calm about it because I mean, and that sounds kind of strange. I am excited. I don't really have an off season because I go straight from Christmas to playing the Tooth Fairy pretty much almost year round. And then I also do Mother Goose. So that's blended in there. Like I have two big events this weekend. So when I think about Christmas, I love what like Bruce said, connecting with the characters. And also, I think Jeff's on here, but what's really been a wonderful outcome of this too is that Sean and Jeff, when they work together, if a child comes up who is missing teeth, they can immediately talk about the tooth fairy. And, we're working together across the country in totally separate events at giving children a story, having artifacts and props they can touch. But I think I'm so calm and just excited about having found true creatives to interact with because many of you are creative people, but it really helps when you find that team, whether it's locally or across the country, that you can meet with who inspire each other when you have that thought and come up with other ideas. So I'm extremely excited, just open for whatever comes next. And I think also needing um, needing something deeper in terms of theory and talking about systems and how do we serve children the best. That's what's always at my heart is how do we give children that I said this in the session Sean and I just did, but my passion for becoming working in children's theater is I believe children deserve just as authentic performances as you see on Broadway. So that is truly my goal is when the best audience of children shows up to be able to deliver that for them. So very excited.
Well, I'm really excited about this season. I'm also going to be relieved because it's going to be easy once I get to the actual season just to be Mrs. Claus vintage. This other stuff is kind of a lot of work. But the thing that I'm looking forward to is continuing, I call it the tests that we've been running. And last year we introduced Phineas and the Tooth Fairy to, I think it was up to 3,000 children a day, possibly at where we work as Children's Wonderland. So we started talking about the stories to these children and seeing how they would respond. And the curiosity was insane. They wanted more. They wanted more. Phineas, the kids, if they saw him, they would know who he was in Ohio, or if the Tooth Fairy showed up. It was such a good response. So I'm excited because there's going to be some more stuff that we're adding this season. And I'm going to continue with the stories that I'm hearing my friends create because I'm going to carry them with me also. So I'm telling the facts. And might have a puppet or something coming with me this year too, I'm thinking. So we'll see. So I'd like to ask Jeff right here if he would jump on and talk to us about how he runs these tests with the children and introducing these other characters.
Well, I'm Jeff Wirtz. I'm out of Toledo, and I'm so grateful that Sean comes down out of Michigan to work with me at Children's Wonderland. And like you said, we see about average 3,000 and they run about 35,000 people for the whole season. So when we're together, and like Sean says, if we see somebody with a missing tooth, I automatically look, oh, Mrs. Claus, looky here. I bet you the Tooth Fairy came to see them. And then we automatically say, well, of course, Mrs. Claus says, do you know that's my bestie? So we start the conversations going that way. And this year, I'm really hoping to get pictures with the Tooth Fairy, Santa, and Mrs. Claus all together. So now when I'm working not only together with Sean, but in my solo, I see children all the time. So now I have a book, picture book, real pictures. We'll say, let me show you the picture of Mrs. Claus and the Tooth Fairy. Have you ever seen them? Draws in the children and it draws in the family. Oh my gosh, the whole backstory right there is just going on. And I'm hoping to get from Betsy maybe some type of tangible item that I could either give to the child and they could do the whatever it is, the SQR code, and speak with the Tooth Fairy or something. So we're trying to develop that out right now. But that's already creating my backstory for the Tooth Fairy.
Yeah.
And now with Phineas, I'm going to have the pictures right there with him as well and say, wow, this is one of my main elves at the North Pole, one of my 1,959 elves that I have at the North Pole. And just create the backstory just by showing the picture, the children and the parents are drawn in. With that, it's just to see the connection that they're making with those physical things is very, it's just so rewarding. So
One of the magical things that Jeff does, we're in a very large sports venue, and he's at one end of the arena and I'm at the other. I guess it's called arena. I don't know. That's my
yeah,
Texas part of me coming out.
yeah,
A soccer field or something.
yeah,
But he'll be seeing the children. He'll see there's a tooth missing, so he'll acknowledge that and say, "Did you know Mrs. Claus's best friend is the tooth fairy?" And he'll tell them to come see me. And I've already seen the kids usually, but I'll have children running at me, jumping up in my lap, and they want to hear all about the tooth fairy. It's so exciting. So I'll be pulling out pictures, and these are kind of what these kind of pictures are used for that I show on social media all the time. They're actually used for the
yeah.
children. So we work back, we're not even beside each other, but we're interacting for hours on end, and each knows what the other's doing, which is super fun to do. Just throwing that out there. So
And she makes the best candy canes too. I always, when I give them the little candy cane, it's not just a store bought and candy cane. This is the candy cane that Mrs. Claus made at the North Pole this morning with her one of her favorite elves, Olivia, which is really her daughter's name. And I tell them to make sure you lick the red part because that's her new recipe. So make sure you, if you see her, go up and tell her thank you and how much you like her candy cane.
So when I have little kids that have sticky all over and they're running at me, I know they've just seen him, so I can protect myself. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Okay, the next thing I would like to do is go with the three of us and tell us what prop or costume you're changing or something that's going to be different this year that you're looking forward to. Mike?
I don't know if there's a particular prop or anything that I look forward to because my view upon props is that I'm a storyteller first and foremost. And so anything that I bring into my performance needs to tell a story. So I really haven't found anything yet this year that is sort of the big catalyst for what I'm going to be doing personally in my performances with the Santa that I work with. I guess what I'm most excited about right now is the fact that on the Monday live show, I'm working with all the viewers to build a character for the Yeti puppet that was made for me. And if you watch along Monday afternoons, we've been slowly building up this character that for the Yeti, and I'm quite sure the Yeti itself will become almost as much of a character on online performances. I'm not sure if I'll be bringing it with me to events because it's about the size of a small toddler. It's about 4 feet tall.
That'd be fun on the plane.
With a 42-inch waist, so I mean it's basically like a rotund toddler. But at the same time, that's what I'm most fired up about for this year is that I've been allowed the opportunity to work with other Christmas performers to build a character for this critter, and it's been very fun and interactive, and it's just a joy to watch people get excited about, this big dummy on the screen playing with a puppet.
Nice. So I'm going to, every year we introduce a new animal from the North Pole and tell stories about it. And it's more a storytelling event, or I'll have pictures in my scrapbook and maybe just a little item that they can hold in their hand and look at. Last year it was a penguin, Topper from the cartoon, which Jeff picked. The year before was polar bear, so we had a story about him. This year, I think I'm going to go bigger because of the influence of Mike and the tooth fairy here. That I think I'm going to get a puppet. It's going to be an animal. And as I sit in my chair, I think I'm going to be just holding this animal, and it'll be calmly sitting there. And I can just keep talking calmly with the children, and it never really moves much. Pay attention, if kids get loud, it'll be a good way to, like Betsy says, quiet them down, because they'll start getting aggravated, or agitated. And the children will notice, so shh, must be quiet, you know. So that I'm excited. I've been scouring the web at night, every night, sitting there looking for the perfect. I'm thinking maybe a fox. I'm not sure, but I like the tail, the big bushy tail in my lap. I think that would be really clever. So that's my excitement thing. Bruce.
Well, I came about this prop back in the fall. I found out about 2 years ago that I'd be prepping the chorus for the Gluck opera of Orpheus. And I thought, okay, great, fine, sure, sure. But then I was told by the stage director and by the conductor that it is going to be set in a steampunk fashion. So I thought, oh, okay. And that they wanted the chorus to look at steampunk clothing and items and so forth. So I was just surfing the internet looking for steampunk items. So, goggles and, all sorts of that stuff. But a really cool steampunk style hand compass. Like, I don't have it with me right now, but it just fits in the palm of your hand. But it's just so ornate and brass, and it just had that certain North Pole look about it. But it had this interesting filigree on top that you could open up, and then you saw the actual compass. I thought, well, that's really great for a story about finding direction, because often I get asked, well, how do you know how to get back to the North Pole from here and such? So I had that compass here, but then I realized as I was playing with this filigree thing, it was a sextant. So it was like a little mini sextant that you could set up and that you could navigate with. So that became a real hit, just for like home visits, one-on-ones, just talking about about navigating through life, like directions and so forth. And because like sometimes our visitors come up and they're not having the greatest time. They're feeling it rough at school, or there's a new baby, different things. And so we just talk about directions, so forth, and that's been a really fun prop that I need to flesh out even more for this coming year.
Okay, thank you. That's exciting. I love it. Betsy.
I'm so excited. I love that, Bruce. That's so good. But okay, so I have a couple props because, one of the things I'm doing is taking some of Sean's ideas from Mrs. Claus things, and I use those, but I'm turning them into fairy, which is a little bit of a challenge. But I made tooth fairy pillows, and I'm putting my business card in there, and I've been bringing those to dentists just to collaborate. But that's not a prop question, really. One of the things that Sean does, if you've ever sat through any of her workshops or teaching, is she uses a lot of authentic props, reindeer fur, things like that. So what I've created, and I'm really hoping my friend Rosie is not on here because she'll see what I did with the makeup kit she gave me, but I made, are you ready? I don't know. I haven't really shown this out to anyone but children, so you're the first. Okay. So I'm taking a makeup kit and I'm turning it into a tooth fairy toolkit. So children often want to know, how do you carry all the things you bring in, and what do you get? One of the pockets is for things that the tooth fairy brings, like medals and coins, that the one Sal got. Down here we have some fairy desks because they ask, how are you so big? And I tell a story to do with that. Up here, we have some string that was used in a fairy trap, and there's sometimes wadded gum. And so I go into details with storytelling about that. And then toothbrushes, if I think anyone has a code red situation, what we talk about. But anyway, what I'm excited about this year as Mrs. Claus, because I have my Mrs. Claus bag, as well as my fairy kit, is doing a similar thing where I have some authentic props that I bring with me. I bring a clipboard with me, the fairy home visits. That is a thing, like the Santas. I'm just copying you, but I have clipboards when I show up and work with children. So integrating, and this is soft and fuzzy and they can touch it, integrating a lot of those things. I'm just really excited about. Sean, I love your that you're going to use a puppet. And I often get I am not an expert puppeteer, but I do use puppets in all of my work with children. And a lot of times it is that, just if you're nervous about it, just simply hold the puppet. For our Mrs. Clauses, I get a lot of questions about it. Gently interact with it as if it's your baby or an animal. And, don't worry about the ventriloquy, any of that. Just interact with it. And I love that you're going to do a fox. I have a Christmas squirrel.
Oh,
It's different, but it works for me. And children love Chestnut, the Christmas squirrel.
well, I will tell you guys, you think it sounds kind of strange that we're talking about the tooth fairy here, but there really is no difference. It all runs hand in hand, and we've been doing this for a while. It just brings more magic to the kids and in their imaginations, and it opens it up even more to Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus. So it may sound odd a little bit, but I guess we hear it so much now too that it's just part of this too for us.
We're talking like
Right.
it's normal, because it really is for me. I live in this world, but I also thoroughly live in the world of Mrs. Claus. And I am someone who needs to constantly develop and serve children. And I was getting so many questions also about missing teeth and do you know the tooth fairy? So we're answering a call.
Okay. I've got another question. We're gonna change it up a little bit more. I would like for you each to give a tip to help performers that are starting this season. What would you tell them if this was their first season, or they're fairly new and just only did it a few times? Bruce.
Okay. I think this applies to all of us. And this was a piece of advice I was given even before I was called to be Santa Claus. And it's be in the moment. I think we get so distracted that all of our characters, whether you're an elf, whether you're Mrs. Claus, whether you're Santa, it doesn't matter. You need to just be comfortable in your own skin, first of all. You need to trust that you are who they were expecting. You don't have to go over the top. You do not, you are not performing for 4,000 people on a stage. Well, hopefully, you will grow into that, and all of us get those opportunities. But, when you're starting off, or even when we're starting our season off, the idea about being in the moment to remind ourselves that you are that character, and at that moment you are that character for that visitor, I think is so important. Whatever time you need to prepare, whatever ritual that you set up as you change, as you do makeup, as you dress, as like for me, this is going to sound kind of weird, and it might be TMI, but the proper undergarments, just throwing a costume over your clothes doesn't create that character. But the proper garments lets your character's clothes hang properly, lets it move properly, allows you to just ease into that character so that you're always there present as that character for all those visitors. And I think it's also advice that can just expand and just grows with us.
And I'll have to add a little secret that under my Mrs. Claus outfit, I have like a lucky shirt I wear. And it's all sequins in the front. It's a big heart. It's really ugly, but it's cotton t-shirt, and I wear it and wash it and wear it and wash it. It's just like my lucky shirt always. So makes me happy when I put it on. I know it's showtime. So and I might as well just add this. When I have a ritual, and I've suggested this before to people, that I do a video before I go to a show, and you don't always have to even tape it. Just put your phone up and watch yourself speak and sing or whatever you're going to be doing, and then you're ready. It gets your mind ready. And today I did it. I did videos today. I did some more videos on TikTok just to get in the frame of mind because it's been a while. So that's one of my suggestions to do. The other thing is to not, and I said this in Tennessee, it's a pet peeve of mine. Don't get caught up in all the stuff. Work on who you want to be as a character, and what you visualize as this person, this Santa or Mrs. Claus. Think about that stuff. Where did that image come from that you have in your mind? Was it your grandmother? Was it cartoons? Was it, and really think deep about that rather than buying more and more stuff to get the look, to do this, to do that. That's not going to really get your character like you need to get it. And then what I see happening quite a bit with a lot of people is they do all this stuff, and then when they need to go get the job, they're just stuck. It's scary. They're all ready, but now they have to do something. So my advice for that is to do anything you can do free. Go to the libraries, find some grandchildren and put them in a little circle around you and practice. Do all that kind of stuff, because then when an opportunity is there, it won't be so scary and you can do it. So that's my 2 cents. I don't know if it was a little too much direct. I apologize if it was, but I just want to help. So whoever, Mike?
I will highlight what Bruce said, is that be present, be there for. It could be an audience of one, it could be an audience of 300, but whatever it is, you are there. You are that individual. You, like for me, I am Phineas the Elf. Yesterday I had a photo shoot in the downtown core of my city, and I had to walk through the city streets dressed as Phineas the Elf in April. So
Wow.
it's, and I was in character the entire time. I was Phineas wandering through these city streets. And so, yes, you did see me post photos of being the dork in the city. But I was in character. I can't afford to not be in character because I am not able to walk into a photo studio or walk into a client's space and then demand half an hour and a washroom to do what I need to do to put my character on, because I use nose prosthesis, ears prostheses, and everything. So I've got to be ready to roll as soon as I walk through that door. Same thing is I can't drive due to a medical condition. So everything that I bring with me, I have to be able to carry on my person because I don't have a car. I don't have a trunk. So I have to carry everything on my back or in my pockets, which is why Phineas wears cargo pants. And so a lot of my costume is very practical, but at the same time, it's dress for the character that you are. Make sure that what you're carrying has a purpose and has a reason for being there and is not just there to be distracted because you haven't spent the time to find out who you are as that character, and be that character for everybody you meet, be it in any interaction. You know, you may have to use a public washroom. How would Santa use a public washroom? Because you might not have an option. The nature calls, and we're all gentlemen of a specific age. So long story short, nature does call, and you might not have a private washroom or a private dressing room. So how would you address that situation? Luckily, my Santa has a Phineas who will stand outside the door and guard the door to make sure that Santa has a few moments of privacy to do what Santa needs to do. And I've done that for Mrs. Claus as well.
That is a
But
very important thing to talk to the people that hire you and stuff like that when before you even get there.
yeah,
Make sure it's worked out.
yeah.
Betsy, thank you, Mike.
I love that. The only other thing I would add, because I agree with all of this, is when you're for actually new performers, I think that it's very important to do everything. Get in there and practice. If you're I speak from Mrs. Claus's perspective often, just because that's what I portray. But getting in there, just reading the stories, say yes to everything. That's kind of my philosophy in life. I try everything. And last season, I did try the Easter Bunny. Wasn't my favorite. Did about 10 gigs, but I learned a lot from it, in terms of my movement, all those things. But saying yes to everything, and then my biggest advice, because I am someone who works well in community, and I fully believe that everybody on this Zoom, you can use support in some way. I have wonderful mentors all over the country. Here in the area, Darla, I've had so many meetings with her. There's a small group in our area that meets at Bill Dindy's. We have talks about the Santa community, but finding people in your community. Oh, I see Phil's on here. We're in a lot of the same groups. Finding clauses who just can support you in your immediate area, because I don't think I would have survived my first season without that type of support. And then, I mean, Darla, who huge in Texas, she is the real deal in terms of Mrs. Claus, but she was passing gigs on to me and she believed in me, and that belief meant everything. So community for me is important, and just getting in there. And I'm not too good for anything. I will do any type of work just to get that experience and develop my character.
Thank you, Betsy. Darla is also one of my mentors. So she was one of I just worship her. She's just the classiest lady. So I agree with that one.
Yeah, and she's one of so many that I see on here too. And it's, I can think of so many names, but all Santa Nana's was my first school. I've gone to lots of different schools, but I've learned more just from being, in a community with a supportive group of women in my case. But
Yeah.
And I will second saying yes to just about anything, because that's basically how Phineas came about, because I was asked to do of all things, a furry convention, and that was definitely out of my comfort zone, hanging out with people in animal costumes. And then when they saw what I could do at the furry convention, I got asked to do a steampunk convention, and then I got asked to do an adults event, which was definitely outside of my comfort zone, but it made me a better performer. And as long as it's in your comfort zone and you've got nothing to lose by it, why not?
Wonderful, wonderful advice. So thank you guys. I'm going to say a couple things here and then we'll open it up for questions. I would like everyone here to know this is a big announcement that I'm going to be on the Tuesday Night Live show on Mondays, starting the week after next. They have contacted me today, so it's a big deal, big, huge deal. I'll have my own show. Thank you. It'll be an hour earlier, so I don't have to be up so late because, Michigan time here. So I'm really excited to work with a whole bunch of them. They're wonderful people. And so that's my big announcement. No more Thursdays, because it is tough on Thursdays for a lot of reasons. I think by the time everybody's tired by Thursday or something, and that's the last thing they want to do, but whatever. But anyways, I'm going to bring back, these guys will be popping in and out and more shows with these three all the time. And Betsy sometimes will be on their mic. It just depends. I'm going to be, if you've came to my shows last year, we had some subjects that I brought in some experts on, and we're going to continue those conversations because we really didn't get enough time with them. Safety A lot of us work in places that we need to be aware of that to keep ourselves safe. So I want to continue that. And I've got a musical choir director that teaches young children. He's going to come in. He was actually part of Mamma Mia with me. And then a teacher principal duo that are going to come in and talk about children nowadays and the differences and since COVID. And that's really interesting. I met these people because, you know, I'm always working it basically. So I met these people at the theater and lately. So they're going to be on here. One of the things I strive for, and the reason I have this show is not only just to have people that you haven't met on here, but people I meet in my travels. So I've been traveling a lot, and there's people that come from other places. When I go to these schools, I met a whole lot of people in San Antonio from all over the place. Tennessee, lots of people, a lot of you on here. I've met you at different places, which is so cool, glorious. You know, I love it. So those are you never know who I'll be reaching out to, so don't be surprised if I see something and think that it might be really important for us to get on here. I am also going to bring experts. So there's going to be teachers on here again talking about what they want in the classroom, not just child development and things, but what actually is happening in that classroom in front of you with that little group of children that you might not have ever thought about. The reasons why they shy away from you, or the reasons why you have to be careful about certain things. We're going to talk about all of that. And let's see. I also have had this thought, and tonight we pretty much solidified it. I'm going to ask some of the new authors in our Claus community to jump on, and let's talk. Let's talk about your new books or music or whatever you have out there, and know some stuff that's working and not working. There's no reason we need to reinvent the wheel. There's plenty of people out there for us all to have. There's, you know, we can knock out the competition thing and just help each other. So there's that. And don't forget that this show tonight will be on YouTube. I've set it up today. Mike will be putting it on there for me because he's a wonderful producer. And when I'm on Monday nights, it will be Angela helping me out. Love Angela. I can't wait to work with her along with the guys. So now, is there any questions that you guys would have for any of us? Anything? We're here. Any hand's going to go up.
We've had a few comments through
Okay.
the talk. Grandpa Gus commented that building the backstory is so important and honestly not all that hard, and I would agree with that. Craig Hamilton noted that he would love to get his clients to book sooner in the year. It would take a lot of stress off of everything if he didn't have to spend so much effort marketing all year round, and he can focus more on the development of his portrayal.
I'm going to jump in if you don't mind, Craig. Yes, I lived through that. Now, Mike, I don't know what it's like on your side of Ontario, but when I moved back to Canada, I was amazed at how last minute people were about calling and booking. Is that what you're experiencing right now?
Um,
Well,
Honestly,
it's not just last minute. Um, it's when you call them in January or February or March or July or August. You say, "Hey, you ready to rebook?" Still working out the details, and then they call you in, you know, October, late October, and saying, "Okay, I'm ready to book a day," and you're like, man, you could have taken a lot of stress off of me if you had just booked like 6 months ago. But yeah, it's one of those things that I get a little envious of all you Santas who say, yeah, I'm already fully booked for the year,
Yeah,
because
no,
my
yeah.
clients don't want to do that. They want to wait till the last minute.
You know what? You know what I do when I go in? I'll say, I need to know what date you want me in here, because And she'll say, well, I don't know. And I'll say, well, the dates are going to fill up and I'm not going to be able to get you in here unless we make some decisions. So I pretty much just push them into it. And then they realize that the dates are filling up. I also take in a calendar, paper calendar, when I go in and see my people instead of a phone or whatever, so they can see the dates are filling up and they're already booked. Because visually, when they look down and there's one space left and you're pointing at it,
Mhm.
that works too.
Also, Craig,
Yeah.
I think, because this was your second year as Santa,
Uh,
third year?
yeah. So 2024 was my second year, so I'm going into my third year.
Right. It also it takes time just to build up that clientele,
Yeah.
and it, it sometimes some people just need to realize that you just don't have this open calendar. And I know that like a couple times after COVID, people just thought, oh well, you'll be available, and I just said, I'm sorry. And one person asked, well, what do you mean? Like, when do people book you? And I said, well, usually latest April. And these are for the larger corporate things. But
Yeah.
but I'm even finding now, since COVID, people even for home visits saying, you know what, I like this second Saturday of December, or if you could hold a time on Christmas Eve between this 2 hour block, you know, don't lose hope. It does take time to build a clientele. Also, sometimes, it may be frustrating, but just keep calling, keep that contact going. Um,
Hmm.
it just
Bruce,
be
the other thing
be
is like
patient.
we did a little improv in Tennessee in front of the class. And one thing I do is a bakery that I've been doing for a few years. But I also, the rest of the year, I'm in there buying cupcakes. Like I love peanut butter cupcakes. So she sees my face in there all the time. And she knows I'm loyal. Basically, I probably spend more on cupcakes than she pays me in December. But um, I just don't think that she would hire anybody else because she knows I'm loyal to her too. So that kind of helps when you go into these businesses and they see your face on the rest of the year time. So
So what we
Yeah.
do is we actually send a thank you card, literally right after the end of the season. And it's a heartfelt thank you card that both Phineas and Santa sign. And then we slip our business card in there that reminds them that we are booking already for 2025 or whatever the next year is. And I have found that we got so much early response from sending a thank you card because we sent them a thank you for your business. Thank you for letting us share in your family's holiday celebration, your business holiday celebration, and it's just sort of like showing that we are grateful for what you gave to us. And then there's a little hint, hey, we're booking for next year. You might want to book early for the year to come. And we found that as we began, like the first year, we got probably about 25% response to that. This year, we only had one that didn't respond to the thank you card. And so you build up the reputation and you build up I treat it as a partnership. I work with my clients. We are not doing a business with them. We are working with them to build their thing. And if you treat it like that, they will treat you as a valued part of their Christmas celebration too. So
thank you, Mike. Do we have any more
Thank
questions
you.
or chat on there?
we've got a question for the spirited fairy. How do you develop each character to be so unique? And that was from Aaron D.
Oh, great question. One thing I love to do, I really listen to children. And so a lot of my characters are developed as when I go into a preschool and I place the children as the experts. And so they're helping me create these characters as we go. And the more and more, again, the first time that I go in with my fairy dress, it's not done. After that, I continue to develop them. And I've always been really drawn to unique characters from childhood that maybe I can read a lot about Mother Goose and I do a lot of research about the historical characters, but in the moment I just really try to listen to what children want to know about them. and I develop from there. And if I don't know it, I go home and research. So that's a wonderful thing about what we do is all of us get to use our creativity to develop these characters.
Very nice. Mike, anything else?
Grandpa Gus says he never stop selling yourself, especially if you want for a store or an event that you want. Glenn would like to know if there are further questions, can you place them on the Facebook group? And by all means, yes, please, Glenn. That would be great.
Please. Yeah, we were gonna actually forgot about saying that, but yes, please put any questions on there, anything about the show tonight. You know, that tell everyone to get on that page would be nice. I try to invite everybody just so that we have the information coming out for whatever might be happening if you're interested in being with us. So anything else, Mike?
iPhone, I'm not sure who that was. I thought it might have been Scott Saratian, but I'm not sure. Said, do we recommend any new Santas attend a school? And then Grandpa Gus replied with why I'm curious as to what I would learn as there are so many different schools. Personally, I would definitely recommend a school. Number one, not just for the school itself, but also for the fact that you get to, well, particularly the real bearded fellas. You can't see other Santas in action because there can only be one. And it's very difficult for you to go incognito to witness another Santa working. Thankfully, elves and Mrs. Clauses are a little more leeway that way, and the designer bearded fellas have that as well. But what happens is at these schools, you also have time of fellowship. You have the chance in between classes and at meals to sit down and talk to others one-on-one and get to know how they work and what makes them tick. So it's both networking and it's also sort of like a group self-instruction. But also at the same time is that if you're going to to the schools, you might be getting different perspectives. You'll be getting different perspectives from other performers from different areas who come from different backgrounds. I mean, that's how Sean, Bruce, and Betsy and I met. We met basically at different schools. I met Sean and Betsy at North Pole Cornerstones. Bruce and I have been circling around each other in Southern Ontario for about 10 years, and it finally took basically just us getting, it was like, well, damn, we just need to meet each other. And so we basically did that. And I mean, there are a multitude of schools, and each one has a different perspective. You've got the traditionals like Charles W. Howard, which have a good foundation and historical background, and then you've got schools like North Pole Cornerstones, which are more performance oriented and working on basically creating your Santa or your Christmas performer as a storytelling character. So telling your story as you interact with people. And then you've got the classes that are being offered, by some of the booking agents. I know Hire Us Santa, not Hire Santa, in Canada actually offers a school where they will train you to be able to work for them. And so that way, every Santa that works for them has the same backstory, has the same thing, so the children can go visit a different Santa in a mall and get the same story from that Santa. So it's depends on what you're looking for. It's
Also,
not.
Branson School of Santas is coming up. I will be there actually with 2 classes this year for the first time. Looking forward to that. So let me know if you're going to be attending that one.
And also, just another thing is that with the technology that we have right now, just sharing with each other and just doing Zoom calls. And I realize that we don't do the amount of virtual calls like we did during the dark times, as I like to call it, COVID. But still, it's a great practice aid. It's just the lighting in our houses or those lighting rings. Oh man, those nasty lighting rings can either help you think, wow, my technique is wonderful, or it just shreds you, and you're just thinking, what do I look like? And just practicing storytelling with each other and different things like that, I think is so helpful, and just working and reaching out to each other. I think,
And like
that's
I said
easy.
earlier, is we were just in Tennessee, and I was with Betsy and two other ladies from Texas, and we just sat around talking. But the way it's kind of peculiar because we're very creative people,
Right.
and it's just, it feeds off of each other in the stuff that we all were able to come up with, and silly things and stories, just by being together. It's as simple as that.
And I
So,
think the day that like I think I don't need to learn, I love to learn. I'm a constant student. Um, I have advanced degrees, but I feel like the day that I need to get out of it, I need to, hang up my Mrs. Claus bag. I think it's just really important. And the networking that you make at this, that can be further education. It's hard to pick. There, like Mike said, I'm glad you gave a little overview. There's so many more I saw in the chat too of schools, but any
Yeah.
of us can talk to you, or the other people in here know the ones that, but everybody's individual in terms of their needs and what they're looking for help with. I know, like, I saw Sue in here earlier, and she's been doing a lot of like growth in terms of marketing, and she's been doing things. I also want to say, I want to plug for things also outside of Christmas schools, doing a lot of whatever area. And I think that's kind of what you're doing, Sue, is doing things outside of the Christmas community too, to further, if this is a business to you, further yourself that way. So whether you need to work on marketing or any of this, Christmas schools are great. And I am I'm a huge supporter. But other ways, education is just
And a side note that we were going to talk about, Betsy, that we forgot, was self-help.
Yes.
This will help you aside from the schools. And it sounds kind of crazy. We discovered that this year, that some people do like exercise classes or dance classes or yoga or something. Not me. I do a full musical on stage, singing and dancing. And Betsy, go ahead, tell them what you've been doing.
I've been doing an adult cheerleading group. And I know that sounds crazy, but it is everything that I needed and more right now in my life. It is older moms who have never done anything to do with cheerleading, and we get in there and we laugh, and it's very healing every week to have a moment for myself. So whatever it is, whether it's painting, whatever is your thing, or I would challenge you to do things that are not your thing. Because
Yeah.
my big thing is that because we're often putting children in situations that may not be comfortable, we need to continue to put ourselves in situations that are not comfortable. And they always say, there is 8 counts and you're going to 6 count. Like, I'm horrible. And that's why I like it. So that's me.
And the other thing real quick with me is that I discovered that just like we all know that after the season, you hit a wall. It's kind of sad, and you got to deal with a lot of feelings sometimes you don't realize are going to be there. And I decided that I would start a musical like 3 days after the year started. And I'll be darned, it got me through singing every single night and dancing. I didn't have time to poo-poo it. It was a really good thing to get through that. So I highly recommend, not maybe being in a musical, but if you can do community theater or something, it's really good for you.
hey,
So
Sean, could I jump in for just a second?
yes, Scott, go ahead.
You were talking about schools, Phineas or Mike. I don't know if you have your ears on tonight or not. So I'm looking at Sean. But anyhow, schools, guys, schools are not always really cheap. They're not inexpensive. You're investing in your portrayal. But the thing that you can do is, since Sean is now part of the TNL network, there are shows on every single day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and that's a great place to learn because there we bring guests in and everything else. Like Sean will bring different guests in, and there'll be different subject matter. And the best thing about it is the cost is very reasonable. It's the best bargain on in the community. It's free.
Yes, it is.
I will add an asterisk. It is free due to the courtesy and generosity of our sponsors, santascloset.org, Talbert Insurance, and Stuff for Santas.
Good job. Good job. Yes, we thank
I'm well
them.
trained by Spangle. We've got a question from Daisy Claus, who is a Mrs. Claus out in California, and she was
Okay.
wondering what giveaways there are for Christmas performers that aren't candy canes or candies. And I see Betsy provided two options in the comment stream. The first being she's got Claus dollars and stickers. And I have, and every time I say what giveaways we've got, go to a pharmacy and get a choke tube. And if it can go through that choke tube, you are not giving it away. What a choke tube is a plexiglass tube that is the exact size of a child's throat. And so if it doesn't go down the choke through, it will not go through their throat. So what I do is I give away, I've got wooden nickels, and the wooden nickels have my logo on it. And on the back it says, I have met Santa and Phineas and I am on the nice list. And so I'm able to take a light from them, produce it, and then produce the wooden nickel and give it to them. And once again, it's part of the story. It shows the magic of the season and such like that. I know some Santas, I think Santa Gus has written that he has bells on a ribbon, and a lot of people do that. The bells can get kind of expensive unless you're lucky enough to have hit Hobby Lobby or Michael's during the post-season sales. Kelly Mitchell gives away a hug heart, which is good. But anything that fits your character that you're that is not too expensive, and B, you're able to easily carry. Santa David, who I work with, has a card that he gives away that has his photo on it that says, I met Santa and Santa believes in me, as his message. And he's also got ones for when we're at a religious group that does have a Bible message on it too. So, and there is Gus showing the bell that he has. Yes, thank you.
One of the things that I do because I'm Mrs. Claus Vintage is I get the wooden ornaments from Michael's. They're just really thin piece of wood and it's shaped like whatever bells or whatever it is. And I actually take wrapping paper that looks retro or antique, vintage, cut out pictures off of it and decoupage it on these little pieces of wood and spray a little bit of glitter. So it looks like the elves made them for me and they're homemade and they're vintage. And that's what I give out. And sometimes I'll put sticker picture on it and then decoupage over it, make it look kind of old. But those are really cool because it fits my character. So I can give out something old rather than a new sticker because, that's me. So, well, I think we're going to wrap this up, everyone. I don't want to take up any more of your time. We want to keep this not too long and fresh every single time we have a show. So thank you all for joining us tonight. And I will put videos out and promos when the next show will be. So please, it'll be on a Monday night, the week after next, probably. But we'll get some dates out there for you. So,
Sean, I
thank
got
you.
one other thing, if I could say it.
Yes.
Don't forget to join Bob and Phineas on Monday at 3 o'clock, Sean at 6 p.m. on Monday, the Tuesday Night Live show at 7 on Tuesday night, the Kringle Brothers for Kringle Time Wednesday at 7, and don't forget Males Fellowship Group
Yes. Thank you,
on
Scott.
Thursday. That was your job, Phineas.
He's on the Tuesday Night Live show.
I've been plugging the shows all evening long, Scott. So.
We appreciate you, Scott. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful night. If you have any questions, put them on the Claus Connect and we will answer them. Promise. We'll take care of it. So, or send us messages. Thank you. We appreciate you all.
Thank
Thank
you
you for being
everyone.
here.